Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. And when I started this show in 2008, I was on a mission to promote women-owned businesses and help women succeed by providing resources and valuable tips from other women and men, small business owners. In each interview, my guests speak openly about their triumphs, the scary times, and tough decisions they had to make along the way. Women Entrepreneurs Radio is about showing women how to harness their natural strengths to achieve success on their own terms. Hi everyone, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey. I'm really glad you could join us today. And if you listen to this show on Podomatic, you can also listen on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube. It's on many different platforms, and more than likely it's on one of your favorites. So you can definitely listen in and also share this with other people you may feel are interested in hearing stories about entrepreneurs. And if you are on iTunes, it would be great if you could share a review or share your ratings. Both is wonderful because it's always easier for the show to be found if there were more reviews from listeners. So if you were on an iPhone, iPad, whatever, it's very easy for you to kind of page down, scroll down, and then there are places there where you can enter it. So it's very easy for you to do, and that is much appreciated. Also, you can find out more. WomenEntrepreneursSecrets.com is where usually the show bios are displayed, and there's also articles there of interest to women entrepreneurs, so that's also another place for you to stop by. And if you want to know more about me, you can go by my website, thebaileycoach.com, and find out about my books and writing and different services that I offer as well. So I really hope that you will do that. Okay, everyone, so I'm going to introduce my guest for today. Mary Ellen Kramer is the president and CEO of Wesa, and she brings 33 years of senior management experience in high-tech, finance, and telecommunication sectors. And she has raised over $40 million in financing for ventures she has led. Aside from her standard chief executive duties, Mary Ellen's present focus at Wesa is developing the market and market partnerships for NightRide, which is a portable mobile thermal camera that allows drivers to easily see objects on the dark road 4 times further than their headlights. I like that idea. NightRide is the first affordable night vision camera for every car and helps drivers see more at night. So Mary Ellen has a lot more things that she's going to share with us that she's done and is doing. So welcome to the show, Mary Ellen. I'm really glad to have you here.
Oh, Deb, thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure, and I love that this conversation is about women's entrepreneurship, something I'm very, very passionate about. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and that's fantastic because as much as we can encourage that and also share, everyone shares their stories, and that also is so encouraging to people who would also like to get out there and get their thing out. So, before we talk about what you're working on now, what's a little bit about your journey to entrepreneurship?
Okay, so first, it's been a journey. I started in 1985, and the advent of my entrepreneurship was actually the birth of my first child. Mm-hmm. So my son was born in 1985, and what I realized is that the regular job that I had then, I was working in banking. The hours and the demands were not going to work with me raising a small child. So I created a product and went out and sold that product to financial houses and banks and brokerage houses. And the focus of that was actually trading systems. And that package took me for quite a while through the birth of all my 4 children at that point, and gave me the opportunity to work when I wanted to. And so I had joined the solopreneur spectrum at that time, and that wasn't even a word, but that was something that I had done, achieved. And 1994, I was having a conversation with someone, and the conversation resulted in a partnership and me going into a telecommunications venture and founding that company, which was the first company that I was working with someone else. And from there, it was a series of ventures in telecommunications that led me to where I am right now.
Wow. So it's very interesting how you started out, as a lot of times women entrepreneurs do. They definitely have a need and, to spend time with their family more, or something that leads them to take that step, or they see a need for a product that they themselves have been looking for, and then that leads to something else. So that seems very much a story that I definitely have heard from others. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about your product that you're working on right now, NightRide?
Sure. So NightRide, as you said, great introduction, is a thermal camera for the automotive aftermarket. That means that it can be installed on any car by the driver in 5 minutes, and it lets the driver see what their headlights are not seeing, actually 4 times further than their headlights, in dark, smoke, fog, snow, rain. And I'm a New York City woman born and bred, so I don't think that much about dark roads on my daily driving. But one night, several Christmases ago, I was leaving my brother's home in Westchester, New York, and I took a turn from his little road onto another dark road, and I came within inches of hitting a very large tree that was down from the storm in the road, and I couldn't see it until I was just about on top of it. So I screeched over to the side of the road, and I just sat there shaking for about 30 minutes because I realized that I came very close to being dead. And that experience was the experience that I took back to my partners, my 2 partners, engineering partners, and I said to them, look, we got to do something about this. The world is driving blind. Most people don't live in New York City. People are on suburban or rural roads, and they just cannot see the deer or the cows or a person walking in the road or a mailbox, and accidents happen and people die. So that's how NightRide was born on that night.
That's really a very dramatic story as well, when you consider, I'm sure very unnerving at the time as well, to realize how close you came. But then this also created an idea that now can really be something that can save other people as well.
Yes. Yeah. And, Deb, when we got started, we were thinking about the kinds of consumers that would be interested in NightRide, and we had our own idea about that. So we thought about people who are over 50, have a reduced capacity to have clear vision at night because our eyes are aging. And also, as I said, people are very outdoor active or live and work in suburban and rural areas. Who we didn't give any thought to, but they came to us, are the people who are in the public safety. We call them the first responders market. And those are people that actually take their life in their hands every single day when they respond. The act of response is a really, really dangerous thing. And 72% of first responder accidents happen at night when they're rushing to the scene and they hit something. So we didn't realize how dangerous their job is in that respect, and that this can actually help them save lives, not only their own, but other people's, as they come to the scene of anything, whether it be a natural disaster or a fire or a crime scene or an accident. And they can quickly determine with the NightRide what's in front of them. They can quickly determine if there are bodies there. They can quickly determine if someone or something is hiding under something or behind something. They can see that. And so there has been quite a demand from that market for us to supply them with NightRide.
And then you wonder why, okay, now finally someone has thought of this, but it really is something that seems so obvious that could be such a lifesaver.
Yes, it's thermal imaging has been used for many years in the military sector, as you can imagine, and really the security business. But it is extremely expensive for the most part, or it has been. And it's been the kind of thing that had to be factory installed by professionals, and it was never kind of a Joe or Josephine in the diner kind of product where anybody can have it. And we thought that's the difference we want to make. We want people, every person to have it, whether they are, maybe a couple in their 40s or 50s that are using it themselves, but also making it available for their young teenagers who are driving for the first time and, are getting used to what it's like to drive at night. And as well as, people like my sister-in-law, she's hit 5 deer since she's been living upstate in the past 20 years. And she almost knows them all by name there somewhere. So, this is an opportunity to save another car.
Right.
At least.
Yeah. I'm in New Jersey in near Rutgers University. And, it's suburban, but still there's a lot of activity and traffic and highway, but still sometimes you'll be driving by and there's deers just running out into the road.
Yes. The quintessential deer in the headlights,
Yes.
So it does help if you can see that deer 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds before.
Right.
It's really helpful. So that's what we're out to. And, here's the thing about that. It's, we don't realize the magnitude in terms of the number of incidents. There are 1 million deer car collisions every year. And the ticket is $4 billion in damage to our economy, to people. And that seems like enough right there.
Yes.
Not to mention that Texas has 2.5 million feral pigs running around.
Oh my goodness.
We thought we had problems.
We're not there yet, thank goodness. The deer are bad enough.
Exactly.
Oh my
God. A world of surprises once we got into this market. We're like, okay. Very interesting.
My goodness. So, for something like this, and, you've had tons of experience, of course, with companies and founding and things like that, but for something like this, I would think it took a lot of time for you to research and decide how are you going to bring this to market.
Oh, yes. Along the way, we have a great team. We have a fabulous team of engineers here and overseas. We have specialists in the various areas that it takes to, when you consider, this device goes on the outside of your car, so it has to be waterproof, and we really want to make sure that it's a ultra clear picture for people who are driving. It's a heads-up display, so when you're looking at your windshield, you're actually looking at a portion of your windshield has the display from the NightRide on it. So you're able to not take your eyes off the road as you're driving. So all of that, how is it displayed and what kind of equipment did we choose and where do we buy our sensors, and all of that was a big deal. And the many hours of testing in all kinds of hot weather, cold weather, upstate, in the city, all of that. So we take it out on the road, literally, to make sure that it's fit for purpose. And then when we thought we had it for consumers, then we had a whole new set of requirements for police. They wanted to be very hardy and something that is never going to be taken off the car. They don't take equipment off a police car once it's on. So we had to design for that as well. So it has been quite a journey, but fascinating, completely fascinating, and also international in nature. We've gotten requests from Central and South America, from Canada, from South Africa, from Germany. It's a desired solution all over the world.
Wow, that's really fantastic to think about how your idea started. And
Mm-hmm.
here it is. It's really this huge thing that will solve a lot of problems. But, you've raised, as I'm saying, over 40 million in financing. And we're talking about with women entrepreneurs. I've read that there are challenges for women to really get funding. What have you seen in your experience as far as that goes?
Really good point that you're bringing up here. So I am a Springboard Enterprises alum. So Springboard Enterprises was founded, I believe, in 1999. It's an organization dedicated to supporting the capitalization of women-run businesses in the various sectors of technology. And I was chosen from hundreds of candidates to be one of 20 women that pitched in 2001, in March of 2001. And the woman who founded Zipcar was in my cohort. And we pitched our various businesses at that time. And we became aware of the size of the problem at that point, that only 5% of women get venture capital. And that is especially meaningful when you consider that we start more businesses than men every year. So it's a great gap.
Yeah.
And Springboard has done phenomenal work. To date, they've supported 784 women with their companies in raising $10 billion in capital. So it's a drop in the bucket, but it's a great start. And they've really been advocates for the various sectors of our industry to pay attention to women and to really get that, especially as women get older. Women mature beautifully in terms of being people who run businesses. They don't peak at 40 like men do. Women continue to be extraordinary performers as they get older and older. And this is an opportunity for people to actually really recognize the effectiveness of a woman CEO. And so I'm very passionate about this. I support the new candidates that come to Springboard for their mentorship and to prepare them in the program to pitch before investors. So we all pitch in. All of the alum pitch in and support Springboard in readying these women.
So what advice would you give to those women who are looking to go into entrepreneurship and may feel kind of intimidated by a lot of these numbers and things? What advice would you usually give them?
A few things. First of all, I have to pitch something right now because I took a certificate program from Cornell University last year in women's entrepreneurship, and I definitely have to recommend it. It was fabulous. And one of the specific things that was addressed in this program is the particular lifestyle issues that women need to consider when they become entrepreneurs, and it's not something that should be taken lightly. As I was raising my children, and when I started the first company in 1994, my life looked like this. I, left the office at 5 o'clock, ran home to make sure that I picked up my children from their after-school program in time, got dinner on the table, did their homework with them, tucked them into bed, and at 9:30 at night, we didn't have internet then the way we have it now. At 9:30 at night, I was on my way back to the office to work until 1 o'clock in the morning. So we're people that are depended upon by our families, by our children particularly to be mommy. And so if we are parents, there's that particular challenge. So what I would say is my recommendation is to use community whenever you can. Really look to see how you can be supported by your team, how you can be supported by partners in various ways to make sure that things get accomplished. Definitely set boundaries, use your calendar. I would say that, we just don't always have the liberty of working until it's done. Sometimes we need to stop what we're doing and we want to be, we want to be parents and be with our children. And, to manage all that, it's very important to make requests, make powerful requests of people. And people are usually great if you make those requests. And I would say to just go out and do it. I mean, actually have the courage to pitch your idea. You will be listened to. There are plenty of organizations that support women particularly, and to look for those organizations in getting your business funded, in mentoring. Women are particularly great mentors for other women. And there's a lot of resources out there. So take the plunge. That's what I'd say.
That's great advice, actually. And Mary Ellen, can you please share where people can find you and find out more about your product?
Well, to find me, I'm on LinkedIn. It's Mary Ellen Kramer. You can find me on LinkedIn, and the product can be found on getnightride.com. That's our website. And we're also found on social media. So on the website you can link to all of our social media accounts. So that's the best way to find us.
So do you have other products right now that are available or in development?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we're about to distribute a new product, which is a handheld thermal camera as well. There are a lot of instances where people need to be portable with the thermal camera and to take it to the site of a burning building, or to walk into the woods or wherever people would need to be found. So we are about to begin distributing that. And so that, coupled with the line of 3 products that we have or will shortly have for drivers, that's so far the suite that we're launching.
So pretty much what you're doing or developing is usually in technology areas right now, or?
Yes, it's all in technology areas, and our plan is to be able to take this device, which is part of the advanced driver assistance systems market. That includes things like self-driving cars and automatic braking and other things like that. There are active devices and passive devices. Our devices are passive at the moment. These sensors are passive, which means that the driver makes the decision, but we're providing them with the information they need to make that decision. It's time to put my foot on the brake. There is a deer in front of me. So we're part of that market, and that market is growing very rapidly. The market is growing at 20.7% annually, and we're expected to include there a suite of data packages that we'll make available for people. We're going to amass a lot of data. We actually we're videoing every moment that this camera is active on a car. We're making a video. So there's the ability to take those videos and, have proof in case of an insurance incident, certainly to document certain areas. Other companies are doing that as well. Like as someone is driving over the streets of New York City or driving upstate New York or in Wyoming on rural roads, we are documenting things by the very nature of our captured video. So uploading this video onto servers and having mapping basically of what the roads look like is a very valuable tool for insurance companies, just for further information for drivers and people who want to know what's on the road that is not being picked up by their headlights. So, in the world of data science, we have a new avenue now to amass data on what the driver experience is like.
Yeah, I've noticed, with some cars that have a lot of extra safety options. Like I had recently rented a Subaru, and they have the thing that it's like a light will flash if a car is in your blind spot and all this kind of thing. And I'm like, my goodness, you can just sit back and let the car do all of this and just tell you when things are going on. And it's certainly a different kind of experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the world we're approaching.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a child, this was only in the cartoons, but it's actually happening in reality. And the idea really is to provide as much information as possible. Eventually, these sensors will become part of every vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And, as we move toward the driverless cars, autonomous vehicles, that these kinds of sensors will support the algorithms that make the decisions to stop, and to have it be safe or safer than it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our job, is to have these sensors, which have been very expensive up until now, to create so much of an aftermarket need for them that we drive the price down for new vehicles as they come out.
So we're seeing that, I guess, in your experience, again, you hear about women in tech. Again, you hear, well, maybe there's not enough, there should be more. In your experience, how do you see that industry as far as women entrepreneurs?
Well, I'm going to roll back a little bit to the time that I was going to school. When I went to high school and college, we actually had kind of an open. My experience was it was open to men and women. The opportunity to code, as an example, they talk about women who code. Well, when I was young, it was just people who code. It wasn't that women had to be specially included. We were included. And then something happened. And, women, I think in the schools, it was a situation where it was more promoted to men after a while, or to boys, and women forgot that was, or weren't introduced to it as an opportunity to make a difference. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no difference.
Right.
It's just a question of socialization. It's a question of programs being made available. I went to an all girls high school, and I'm so happy I did, because all of the math and science and all of the STEM programming was as available to us as anyone else. And I certainly encourage young girls to really take a look at this as an opportunity. It's a real path to financial stability and freedom, to have technology degrees and to make use of those, as the economy is really rewarding people who have this background in engineering or coding or anything along those lines. So it's an opportunity to earn a good living and to have a lot of upward mobility. So I definitely encourage women to do that.
Yes, I totally agree. Because I actually worked at AT&T for several years, and I was a programmer and developer and all that kind of thing. And beforehand, it was probably a whole different deal when Bell Labs and those places were kind of the big, the big source of so many things. It seemed to be a lot more male centric. But then as more women were coming in, after a while, it just was just a normal kind of thing. It wasn't something that you had to explain why you're here, why you're doing this. It's, so what? It's not a big deal. So I'm certainly hoping those kinds of things can continue, since so many people have computers and things that they are doing themselves. I know some people were building their computers at a time, so these things are there for people to learn and to become a part of. So I really hope that the younger generations of girls and women realize that is open to them.
Absolutely. So we need to bring it to the underserved as well. This is something I'm very passionate about. Underserved young people in general, having access to this kind of education, whether it's in school or after school, as an access to breaking the cycle of poverty. I ran across a young woman several months ago she was raising her child by herself, and she went from a $23,000 retail job to a $95,000 coding job just by going through a program being given in the South Bronx for women to learn to code. And, I don't know any other way that this woman could have had that kind of upward mobility
right.
in terms of what was available to her. So we need to make these kinds of programs available to people in underserved areas, period. I think it's so important.
Exactly. And technology, this is the future is going to keep evolving, and as many people who are involved in it and can, create and do the things that they do, the better, I think, in general, for everybody.
You're so spot on with that. The United Nations said that to make the biggest difference in the world, we need to empower women economically, and we need to bring technology to these to all countries. And in fact, when a woman earns money, 100% of that money goes to the financial betterment of her family. In Africa, when a man earns money, only 40% of it goes to the financial betterment of his family. So if we want to make a change in the world, it's going to be through the women.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. That's so important. And now so many things are more accessible. So that's even better, but it's really just getting it out there and getting people to see the opportunities and getting them the opportunities to learn and go from there. So that is key, and women really need to be able to participate in the same way. I think that's extremely important. So, really glad that you made that point. So, Mary Ellen, this has really been a fantastic conversation, and there's so much that you're doing and involved with. So it's really fascinating, and I really, interested in your product, especially when you're talking about not hitting things in the roads. I like that idea a lot. So I hope that after a while we can all benefit from those things, because I think a lot of people will be very happy out here.
Well, that's our plan, that it goes viral and that it makes a difference in the world, and particularly the extreme weather events that we experience now more than we ever have. Being armed with whatever it is that can give you a sense of what's out there, I think it just makes everyone feel a lot safer and have more peace of mind. So if we can get that job done, then it was worthwhile.
That's for sure. So, are there any other final thoughts you'd like to share, or any other things that we didn't touch on that you'd like to mention?
All I'd like to do to just really sum everything up is to acknowledge you, Deb. I acknowledge you for bringing these kinds of conversations to the listeners. I acknowledge you for showcasing the work that's being done by women, and to empower other women out there and young people to know that something is really possible for them. So I thank you so much for the work that you're doing. You're such a valuable partner in the work that we're all committed to have done. So, Deb, thank you.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for that as well. Thank you very much. I just love having these conversations and really finding out what's happening out here with so many women who are out here doing it that we may never have known about, unless they're a celebrity or someone like that. You don't hear about everyone else who's getting the work done and then who's also mentoring others and doing things. So I think it's really important to share those wins and positive things so people know that it does exist.
The everyday people who are leading the charge.
Yes.
And thank you, Deb.
Yes. Well, as I said, thank you too. So I'm really glad to have you here today.
My pleasure.
So everyone, I know you enjoyed the conversation. Please make sure to share this on social media. As I said also, if you could stop and leave a review or rating, that's also great for iTunes to share it with more listeners. And, definitely check out Mary Ellen's website, see what else she has going on, and see how you can be inspired as well. So once again, Some Women Entrepreneurs Radio, your host, Deborah Bailey. Thank you so much for joining me. And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. You can also join in the conversation on Facebook.com/Women Entrepreneurs and on the website WomenEntrepreneurSecrets.com. And don't forget to listen in on ddcoach.podomatic.com and on iTunes.